Member for Mount Lawley.
Mr. Speaker, first let me congratulate you on your election as Speaker of this House. It is a great honour to join you in this chamber as the newly elected member for Mount Lawley. In the first instance, I wish to thank the hundreds of helpers who made it possible for me to be able to stand here today. In particular, I thank my partner Michelle, her parents Colin and Marjorie Gilchrist, my sister and brother-in-law Elizabeth and Roy Hagman, my campaign manager Malcolm Holmes, the Honourable Donna Farriger MLC, Tom Wallace, Maureen Meixner, Murray Freeberg, Bill and Judy Green, George Giorgio, Errol Vitanis, Councillors John Tognolini and Sandra Liu, and members of the Liberal Party, and in particular the Liberal Party campaign team. These are among the many thousands of people who wanted a better state government and ensured a Liberal victory in the seat of Mount Lawley. I also wish to thank the members of this House for electing me as Deputy Speaker. It is a further honour to serve in this capacity, and it is my intention to preside in a manner that is fair to all members. The Mount Lawley electorate is an inner city seat north of the Central Business District and is essentially a solid family area which also has a large concentration of retirement villages and nursing homes. The seat was abolished in the redistribution of 1988 and was brought back as one of the new metropolitan seats in the redistribution prior to the election. The last representative for the seat of Mount Lawley was the Honourable George Cash, who is now a member in the other place. The suburb of Mount Lawley, Mr. Speaker, after which the seat is called, was named in honour of Sir Arthur Lawley, the Governor of Western Australia from May 1901 to August 1902. Arthur Lawley, immediately after being Governor of Western Australia, was appointed Lieutenant Governor of the Transvaal, the former South African Republic. This was shortly after the Boer War ended in 1902, a war in which many Australians served with distinction, and I note that there are two members of this House outside that fought in the Boer War. I was born in Johannesburg in the Transvaal in 1954 and lived there until I came to Australia in 1987. I grew up in a family that encouraged hard work, reading, education, and an interest in sporting clubs, community groups, and politics. My father, William Sutherland, who started work as a bricklayer at 14, met my mother, Alice, while he was serving as a warrant officer in the South African Army in Egypt during the Second World War. My mother was from a Lebanese Christian community, and she spoke a number of languages, including French, Arabic, Italian, and Greek. And in 1949, my mother moved to South Africa on her own to join my father. This was a very brave move, since she spoke very poor English at the time. And after my father's death, my mother was able to join my sister and I and lived in Australia for a number of years. I had what can be described as a cosmopolitan upbringing, associating and mixing with people of many diverse nationalities, religions, and backgrounds. After leaving the local government high school where I was head boy, I did my national service in the South African Army and then proceeded to complete a Bachelor of Arts at the Witwatersrand University, where I majored in History and International Relations. I then commenced teaching in 1977 for a period of some 5 years. While teaching, I studied as an external student at the University of South Africa and obtained a teacher's diploma and law degree, and was admitted as a solicitor and notary public in South Africa in 1983. It was primarily, Mr. Speaker, my dislike of the apartheid system in South Africa which led me to become involved in politics. Since the early 1970s, I was active in the United Party, the then main parliamentary opposition to the ruling National Party. And in 1982, I was elected to the Johannesburg City Council as a member of the Progressive Federal Party, which by then had become the main parliamentary opposition party. I served on the Johannesburg City Council until I came to Australia. The Johannesburg City Council was a greater metropolitan council with 47 councillors and some 600,000 residents. It operated like Parliament on political lines, and apart from normal municipal services, it administered, amongst other things, public housing, public transport, fire and emergency services, the running of art galleries and museums, the generation of electricity, and the supply of water. It also had its own traffic police force of quite a large number. In 1987, the Johannesburg City Council had a budget of over 1 billion rand, which at that time was nearly equivalent to $1 Australian. As a result of the incessant political turmoil, unrest and uncertainty in South Africa, I decided to immigrate to Australia and adopt it as my new country. I arrived in 1987 with a suitcase, a tennis racket and a squash racket. I landed up in Sydney, where I requalified as a solicitor at Sydney University, and then decided that Perth was a place that had the most to offer and where I would like to make my home. I settled in Perth in 1988 and have lived here ever since. I first resided in Mount Lawley and soon joined the Mount Lawley Tennis Club, where I remain an active playing member and sponsor. And I thank two of my tennis team, Jim Bonzis and Tony Hooper, for coming here tonight. I am a strong supporter of and realise the importance of sports clubs to the well-being of our society. I have for the past 19 years lived in Naranda, which is a short distance from the northern boundary of my seat, and have since 1988 practiced law in Beaufort Street. In 1995, I was elected as a councillor to the newly constituted City of Perth Council, which was part of the old, larger City of Perth. I am now the longest serving councillor and have been elected Deputy Lord Mayor by my fellow councillors on 3 occasions and have served 5 years in this capacity. Mr. Speaker, as I have publicly stated, I will reconsider my position on the Perth City Council again in the new year. I have served on numerous internal and external committees and have until recently been the chairman of the city's parking committee, which generates approximately 45 million in annual revenue. The city partnered the state government and became a leader in Australia by providing the free and environmentally friendly inner city cat bus service for the central business district and adjacent areas. I am proud to have supported this initiative. I have also been a member of the Central Perth Transport Committee, which comprises both government and city representatives. The committee considers various inner city transport and parking issues, as well as the running of the cat bus service, which has now reached its capacity. There is a pressing need to extend the service and acquire more buses. It is gratifying to note that many visitors who come to Perth remember Perth for the free cat bus service and mention the fact when I meet them. I've also served on the Finance Committee of the city since becoming a councillor. The council's operating budget is now 145 million plus. Mr. Speaker, I bring to the Parliament a long experience of monitoring public finance and expenditure, including infrastructure spending of a considerable value. Until recently, I was a member of the Metropolitan Regional Planning Committee, which deals with major planning issues in the Perth metropolitan area. Other speakers have mentioned in their major speeches the importance of having strong international relations links, and it has been my pleasure since being on the council to have been part of the city increasing its links to Taipei, Nanjing, Siocho, a city that is part of metropolitan Seoul, as well as Aberdeen and Perth in Scotland. The city has also become a leading member of the World Energy Cities Organisation, which is a very positive thing for the state of Western Australia. Western Australia will continue to be active in creating and maintaining strong international links, which benefit business and the community in general. I hope to play my part in this important activity while I am a Member of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, the people of Mount Lawley want performance above politics from their local member, and it is my intention to deliver results for them and respect the trust they have put in me. During the campaign, I emphasised to the voters how important it was to vote on my record of public service and my demonstrated commitment to the community, as this experience would be a critical factor in the quality of their representation. Because of my extensive association with the area and my legal, commercial and political knowledge, I have the necessary understanding and experience to properly serve my constituents. As I've said, Mr. Speaker, the seat of Mount Lawley is part of the inner city of Perth. In order for inner city suburbs to flourish, it is important that they are vibrant and vital places in which to live, work and play. We need to encourage town centre sites in the suburbs with increased work and entertainment opportunities in close proximity to people's homes. In my seat of Mount Lawley, there are two ideal sites at the Dianella Plaza and Dog Swamp shopping centres. We have known that Perth will, over the next years, evolve into an international city, but the question remains whether we are moving fast enough. Our city centre should be alive, our foreshore pulsing with arts and cultural activities. Vitality is a cultural, social and civic leadership issue. We require programs and events and activities that employ local creative people, complemented by retail, small entertainment venues, and regular and reliable public transport. For this to happen, Mr. Speaker, we need to get rid of a generation of clueless and invisible regulators in state and local government departments who stifle initiative and creativity and do not listen to the community. They make it difficult, if not impossible, for people with ideas to take the city and the state forward. The regulators often create a nanny state which suffocates the very people we need to take the city and the state forward. I welcome the government's commitment to sink the railway between the city and Northbridge and the commitment to upgrade the cultural centre, which is a very uninviting public space at present. When we speak of community vitality, it is not only a matter of retailers, restaurants, small bars and nightclubs. It is also a matter of people knowing their neighbours, of feeling safe to use public transport and to walk down their streets at night, wanting to use community clubs and facilities. It is apparent from recent inaugural addresses from new members of all political persuasions that they are concerned about public safety and that they support policies that protect the lifestyle which we cherish. I join my fellow members in expressing similar concerns. Mr. Speaker, an increasing number of citizens are scared of their neighbours and in constant state of alarm. There is a trend of escalating violent attacks, which include those against police, nurses and other officials. There is destruction of property, graffiti, and disrespect for the law and for other people. Mr. Speaker, we bemoan the obesity issue, yet we are too scared to let children walk to school. There have been laments about the coarsening of our culture by many community leaders, including the Chief Justice of New South Wales, Justice Spiegelman. There is a mindset developing that anything goes, anywhere, anytime, with no parameters for behaviour and language. This is because we have become soft on antisocial behaviour. We are allowing people to escape the consequences of their actions. This problem will not be solved by more obscure laws which focus on trivia and take into consideration every conceivable possibility. These add to bureaucracy and waste time and resources. The core issue is not inadequacy of the law, but inadequate enforcement of the law and effective rehabilitation of offenders, while at the same time considering the needs of the victims. Seeing justice done and knowing offenders face the consequences of their actions greatly assists victims to recover from the detrimental effects of the crimes which are committed against them. Our youth are increasingly being involved in alcohol and drug-fueled violent attacks. We need not only to enforce the law, but to encourage our youth to get involved in community activities, thereby preserving and rebuilding the fabric of our society. I'm pleased to note that the government has proposed the building of a correctional facility for 18 to 22-year-olds that will help young offenders receive rehabilitation away from career criminals. Mr. Speaker, another important factor is education. A proper education eradicates prejudices, develops a sense of individuality, and instills respect for others and an understanding of the complexity of the community. Confidence in state schools needs to be restored. Local schools are one of my top priorities. There are a number of schools in my constituency in need of major capital works. Sutherland Dianella Primary School has been allowed to run down to a totally unacceptable level, and the facilities cannot cope with the number of children currently enrolled at the school. The government, I'm pleased to say, will honour its commitment of $5 million to that school to upgrade facilities to the required standard. The Liberal Party will also keep its election commitment made to other schools in the area. I want to again remind teachers and parents that all schools within my electorate will now receive the proper attention that they all deserve. As an ex-teacher, Mr. Speaker, I was alarmed to read that an article in the West Australian on the 23rd of August 2008 that reported between 15 and 20% of the population will struggle with reading by the time they reach year 8. All children need to receive an education that prepares them for the world that is increasingly competitive. Dare I say, Mr. Speaker, bring back the 3 R's. We should be urging students to find satisfaction in achievement instead of making them feel comfortable about their failures. I had a more conventional schooling than what is offered at the present time and have been able to succeed because of the solid foundation of that more traditional education, which taught me literacy and numeracy. There are too many euphemisms used today, like behavioural management, to disguise bad behaviour and lack of discipline. The reality is that too often in schools today, discipline is sadly lacking. Without discipline, you have chaos and disruption. The end result is that learning is significantly compromised. Teachers should not be subjected to bad behaviour and ever-increasing fear of abuse and assault. Mr. Speaker, another matter which has been of great concern to inner-city residents was the proposed closure of the Royal Perth Hospital. The government has made the right decision to preserve the hospital. Can I have an extension, please?
Extension granted.
And this announcement, based on practical common sense, has been welcomed by the local community. Another matter which is of concern to us all here is global warming. And whether or not we believe in global warming, we should all give the planet the benefit of the doubt. In any event, we should all, in our personal capacities and in our capacities as public representatives, encourage sustainability and the focus on conserving water, power use, and other pressing environmental issues. This is something that the City of Perth has again taken the lead in by planting 85,000 trees this financial year to offset carbon emissions from cars using the city's car parks. I am proud of my association with the Council's environmental efforts over the last number of years. In order to assist the environment, we need to develop an integrated, safe and more frequent public transport system, including the introduction of river cats, the extension of the cat bus system, and where possible, light rail from the suburbs into the CBD. This will help the traffic congestion in the inner city and also assist our community to get around. Another thing that has been stated by many of the speakers in their inaugural addresses is that the Liberal Party supports people who build businesses and create employment and who give our youth the skills to meet the demands of a constantly changing global economy. Mr. Speaker, I support small business and realise that our future lies with small business. The Beaufort Street precinct in my electorate is becoming a well-renowned restaurant and shopping strip. It is a small business and artistic sector that has made this area thrive, and it is vital to maintain the area with good ambience and a diversity of high-quality retail businesses and offices. Mr. Speaker, while door knocking during the election, I admired the mixture of modern and historic homes in my electorate. It has always been the Australian dream to own one's own home. Australians are some of the hardest workers in the world. For them not to be able to enter the housing market is unacceptable. This generation is being priced out of the market, and there's no encouragement to work hard and to succeed if at the end of the day you are not able to own your own home. We should be looking at this problem to see how we can assist and Also, try and, wherever possible, release land for redevelopment that is no longer used for its original purpose or areas that have become degraded. When I came to Australia some 21 years ago, I found a nation guided by the idea of a fair go, straight talk and honest hard work. Western Australians do not want, nor do they need to be carried through life. They do not want cradle-to-the-grave socialism. People want to make their own decisions and receive the rewards of their actions instead of having their decisions taken away from them by the nanny state. Our electors are not looking for an answer to every problem, but rather fair, honest and sensible representation. People do not want buzzwords, spin and newspeak that clouds reality. Without straight talk and clear answers to their questions, we will fail them. Our citizens want clear and concise information on which to base their decisions. Mr. Speaker, this is an approach that I will take to my work as the member for Mount Lawley, because it is what I deem to be right and what my constituents want. In closing, I would once again like to thank the people that have helped me take my seat in this place. I have left until last the thanks that I must give to Dr. David Smith and Mr. Ben Allen, who have done so much to establish my electoral office. I also thank the many friends and family that have come here tonight to hear my speech and show my support. I hope it hasn't been too long. It was with a great sense of privilege, passion and purpose that I accept the responsibility of representing the electorate of Mount Lawley. Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker.